Hi everyone. So today I'd like to talk about two of the cheapest fully featured, shall I say, amplifiers, if I could call it that, portable mini amps. The first being the Rowin PE-10 and the other one being the NUX, or NUX as some people read it, Mity Lite BT. So they both come with multiple amp models. They have delay, reverb, and modulation features. So namely chorus, phaser, tremolo, and flanger. So let's go through these. As you can see on this photo, here they are side by side. Gives you a bit of a size comparison. Okay, and here's a shot from above and also from behind. So you can see they're pretty similar size. The Rowin's slightly wider in its shape. And I suppose one of the big differences is that the Rowin has a built-in rechargeable battery, and the NUX has a battery compartment for AA batteries. So you could use alkaline batteries, you could use rechargeables, or you can run it straight off the power supply without batteries, in which case it's a lot lighter than the Rowin. Now, while we're speaking of power supplies, the NUX runs off a very standard 9-volt power supply, so anything that you can use on pedals, 9-volt pedals, they'll generally, pretty much work on this, center negative. And interestingly enough, it also has a USB power supply, so it can actually be powered from a USB port, obviously, USB power supply, but more interestingly perhaps, off a power bank. So you can actually get a power bank for a mobile phone, and you can actually power the little lamp up from that. Now, just a word of warning though, if you do run it through the USB power, the output volume drops by about a half, roughly. So it's a lot softer. You'll get nowhere near the volume you would get through using a power supply, or a battery for that matter. So if you use the AA batteries, you'll get the full oomph. Okay, now as for the Rowin, I've made a separate video about this, but it uses a bit of a non-standard power supply. So these are less common. They're a center negative 12 volts, so they're not your usual 12 volt supplies, usual in inverted commas. So most of the 12 volt supplies you'll see out there, like for the Yamaha gear, is center negative, so they've got a the polarities the other around. So these are a little bit more exotic, so to speak, and just be careful when you're plugging these in. Okay, so looking at the top panels of both the units, this one is the Rowin. Fairly traditional layout in that it's just got knobs for modulation effects, got a delay reverb knob, a drive, it's meant to say drive model, but they obviously misspelt it, a gain knob, a tone, and volume. It's also got a little tuner built in, and that's activated by the metal toggle switch at the top. I've made a separate video about that one, link below, and it's also got a headphone output. That BT is also indicating that it can be used as a Bluetooth speaker as well, so you can mix some background music or whatever into it and play along to it. Okay, and here's the top of the NUX device. Sorry for the dust, you can see I have actually had it for a little while, and it's a lot more sparse or modern in its appearance. You'll notice that it only has a gain, volume, tone, and a delay reverb knob, so a lot fewer knobs than the Rowin. I'll explain why. And it's got a lot more of these functional buttons at the top, and I guess notably it has a drum machine built in, although I find that it's a little bit limited. In fact, there's no 3/4 beats that I know of, or 6/8. So as long as it's 4/4, I guess it'll be all right. Other differences to the Rowin is that it does actually have an auxiliary import, a hard one, so you can actually plug things into it, keyboard, other instruments. It has Bluetooth, so you can still stream Bluetooth as well. Use it as a little computer speaker if you want to. And I'll explain where the other features like the modulation and the amp models are in a second. Oh, actually, sorry, the amp models are actually selected by pressing that OD/dist, as in, overdrive distortion button. Now, that's not the only way to change it. I'll show you in a second how many of the features are actually accessed on this. Okay, so I'm not going to talk a huge amount on this because there's tons of videos and resource material available. In fact, from the NUX site you can get the manuals as well. But essentially the NUX is controlled from your mobile phone, from an app. And that's great in that they can put a lot more features into the amplifier. But at the same token, it's a bit of a pain because you have to have a mobile to actually access the some of the features. There are actually features that you simply cannot get to from the control panel, like the modulation features, without actually having the app. So that can be a big issue for some people. If you haven't got a mobile phone handy when you're trying to use the amp, and from that aspect the Rowin is a lot more conventional in that all of the controls are on the dials. What you see is what you get. So here's the screen that you would get on the app for the NUX. As you can see, there's amp models at the top. This one's currently selected to clean, and everything shows up in green. You can change the gain, level and tone. Okay, so here's the overdrive amp selected, and again you can have gain, level, tone. Now the unit will remember your last settings if you press that save button up the top right hand corner. So if you press that, next time you switch the hardware on, it'll have that setting and you don't actually have to fire up the app if you've got a favorite setting. And the red one for the distortion model. And the modulation features, obviously by clicking that mod function there, you can, again, it'll individually save the modulation for each of the models. There's an on-off switch there for it. In terms of modulation, it does come with chorus, phaser, flanger, tremolo, and also a vibe. So there's 5 modulation effects. And finally the delay and reverb models, it's just called ambience on this one. There are quite a few delay and reverb modeling in settings in here. It's quite extensive, and you can obviously change the repeat mix and the times. You can even adjust the delay time with the manual tab. So I guess summing up, the NUX is a lot more fiddlier to deal with because of that mobile app, but at the end of the day it does have a lot more settings. It has more adjustability in the effects. So if that's important to you, like depth of chorus and delay time and things like that, absolutely the one to get. On the other hand, if you just want something straightforward that can be quickly changed while you're playing and between sets or whatever, then the Rowin is much more straightforward. It's much more traditional layout, and I think it's a much friendlier way to operate it. Also remembering that the I guess there's differences in that the NUX has a drum machine, no tuner, whereas the Rowin has no drum machine but has a tuner on board. So hopefully that helps you decide in terms of the features which one will be more appropriate for you. I'll have a separate video out for doing sound comparisons between the two amps, so please look out for that one.